Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's LandonRemixes here, and welcome to my review of the debut album from UK-based DJ and producer Flux Pavilion. This one's called Tesla. And this is something that probably should have come a long time ago. Flux Pavilion has been around for quite a few years. He was one of the leading UK producers for dubstep, definitely got big with songs like I Can't Stop. He had his EP Blow the Roof, which I thought was really good. He's definitely branched out into other styles like Moonbaton and things like that, and for the most part he's been a pretty successful producer. Flux Pavilion was actually my first live bass show that I've ever been to, at least for electronic music. And although people do really like his live shows, I think a lot of people criticize his productions for being a little too repetitive. And like I said, he's delved into Moonbaton a little bit, but a lot of it encompasses this kind of generic, at least for him by now, kind of bass dubstep sound. And I was hoping for something a little bit different with this debut album. The album kicks off with the Tesla intro, which is actually made with Tesla coils, which I think is one of the coolest things this album could have done, especially with the theme, but it kind of doesn't really lead into the next track very well, and although it does make a good track, it's definitely not a standalone, and it's not a perfect intro either. Track Vibrate is a pretty generic EDM track, which is a lot of what this album is feeling is how I'm feeling about the last Steve Aoki album. Although he does try to bring in a few different styles than people are previously used to, I don't think he was stretching really as far as he could have on making these songs. On We Are Creators, we get a little more of a funky vibe, even though the drop is still pretty disappointing and generic. Never See the Light encompasses kind of a style of trap that's been getting popular, but is actually kind of outdated at this point. And then following that, there's International Anthem with Doctor, not to be confused with Dr. P. And this one completely centers around the classic Flux Pavilion style we hear on I Can't Stop, and The Scientist and singles like that he's already released. Now, although it does make for a good track, it's still fairly disappointing to hear that one of the best tracks on the record, per se, in my opinion, is just kind of a rerun of what he's already done with his music. Following that are a couple of my other favorite tracks. There's Shoot Me with Big Voyage and Jack City, which encompasses a little bit more of a deep house sound, which I thought was really interesting to hear from Flux and his take on the genre. And then one of my other favorites, What You Gonna Do About It, which is definitely a hard-hitting, heavy track and just a really enjoyable listen. There are a couple other ones that I want to talk about real quick. There's the track Emotional with Matthew Coma, and this was one of the most disappointing for me. Matthew's vocals definitely don't go along as a vocalist well with Flux Pavilion's style. I think he did a little bit of production on this as well, but it doesn't really work together as a track. There's a track Feels Good, which sounds like it's trying to be a new age Prodigy track, which does make sense considering Flux did have a song with the Prodigy on their new album. There's a track Who Wants to Rock with Riff Raff, and although this one isn't completely disenjoyable, it's not necessarily great either, and is fairly generic. And the last one I want to talk about is the track Ironheart with Bully Songs, and I've seen Bully Songs on a few tracks recently. There's Good Intentions with the Chainsmokers, and there was another one he did with Dash Berlin, but I think out of all of his vocal appearances, this one is probably the best. I really did enjoy this one. Melodic dubstep from Flux Pavilion, very good refresher, and an extremely good closer of the album, and I definitely think this was one of the highlights from the record. Just make sure to listen to it. Listen to those couple ones that I pointed out, and you'll definitely enjoy a few of this. If you're really into that classic Flux Pavilion style, you'll probably dig this. I wasn't completely indulged by his old style, but I did like it fairly, and this record was just a little disappointing. I thought it was going to be a little bit more diverse than it was, and feature some maybe new and innovative styles. I think the best rating I can give this record would be a 3.5. For all the reasons that I said, just the generic nature of it, kind of disappointing as a debut record following some pretty stellar EPs, and I just think Flux Pavilion could have done a lot better with his debut album. What'd you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys later. Peace.